All right, first panel of the day. So welcome everyone. Again, we are in Women's History Month, and we're really delighted for you to all join us for the 4th edition of World Women Hour. And thank you again to the Grammy Museum. We're really excited to host it in this beautiful space and hear from incredible women who are leaders in their field in so many different ways, and hear and learn from the best of the best, which we have in front of us. And so the theme is really about, it's time to claim our power. And what does that mean? To outdo cliches, overturn rules, and overcome obstacles to lead. And so, again, I'm Krystina Fisher. I don't know if I introduced myself before, but I'm an advisory council member with World Women Foundation. I'm also a communications and marketing executive. We're going to be celebrating throughout the day the go-getters and the doers, and talking about different ways that we can really embrace and empower others. And just a quick round of introductions. So right here we have Chandler Bondan, who is the Chief People Officer for BuzzFeed. I mean, I can't believe this group that we have here. And then we have Shanique Bonelli-Moore, who is the Chief Diversity and Social Impact Officer at the Clorox company. And then we have Elizabeth Morrison, who is the Chief Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Officer at the Levi, Strauss & Company. I'm really thrilled to share the stage with you women and open up the conversation to talk about DEI, because I think now, especially, it's become a really critical and important topic of conversation. And I know a lot of experts in your field are talking about, really a lot of progress that is being dismantled in a lot of different areas and challenges that you especially have to overcome to prove that the space belongs here, and the valuable space of DEI that isn't just buzzwords, but it's indispensable tools for building a more equitable, inclusive, and prosperous future for women and people around you. And we definitely want to talk about, the challenges, but also the opportunities that, how powerful women in the field, you've really paved a path, and your unwavering, commitment and dedication and support to continue to build that equitable future and inclusiveness for your community. So again, round of applause for these women and what they do, quite frankly, seriously. So I'm going to start with a question. What does power mean to you, and how does it shape your approach to life and work? Put you in the hot seat. So
great. I'll kick us off. Why, hello. It's very bright up here. I'm Chandler. So nice to see everybody. When I was thinking about this question, I was really thinking about people at BuzzFeed. I was also thinking about my kids, and I have 2 daughters. And so I was trying to really empower strength and also think about others and how to uplift others. And when you think about girl power, growing up hearing the Spice Girls, shout out to anyone who's Spice Girls fan, making sure that some of that is bread and butter in what we do every day. So sometimes the work that you do, whether that be at home or at the office, it's all about empowering one another, listening when you need to listen, speaking up when you need to listen, knowing what your strengths are, what your team's strengths are, what people bring to the table. If you have a gap on your team, making sure that you're filling it with the right talent, not just replacing roles, but bringing in diverse talent. So across the board, that's what power means to me.
When I think about power, I look at it as a responsibility. I think to be in a place of power, when you think about too much is given, too much is required. And how do you use that power for good? How do you use that power to create spaces and opportunities for people? And so when I think about how I use my power, I think about listening, as you shared, actively listening. I think about, how do I create a space for others to be well and thrive? What does that look like? What it takes for you to thrive looks different than what it takes for you to what it takes for you to be able to thrive. And so really acknowledging that responsibility and using it and leading into it to really do good.
Love that. both answers. Love those answers. When I think about power, I first think about myself and what I think in me is so powerful, and it really is my confidence. And that's something that from a young age, my parents poured into me. They were born in New York City in the 40s, but grew up, came of age during civil rights. And so they were at sit-ins, at marches, all the things. And so really were very articulate with myself and my siblings about the challenges we would face, but also the power that we had and the responsibility that we had to be good citizens, but also to use our voices to advocate for equity and inclusion and belonging. And so when I tap into my own power, that's what helps me lift and empower others, including my team at work, my peers, my organization, anyone who I volunteer for, young people who I mentor. And so I agree with to whom much is given, much is expected, and I try to pay that back on a regular basis.
Yeah, I also think when you look at power, yes, and let's clap it up, but it's also knowing when not to use that power, right? And so, goes both ways, and yielding that power, making room for someone else is equally important.
100%, 100%. So Shanique, I'm going to start with you because your daughter is here too, I understand.
Yeah.
If I understand correctly, you report into a female CEO, and I also read that I think like 50% of the senior executive leadership is female, right. And that's in work. And then personally, you have your own company, Girlfriends Retreat, which, by the way, I need to talk to you about because it looks incredible and so much fun, and I want to go. And so, starting with you, but I'm going to open this up to the entire panel. What fuels your power personally and professionally, driving your actions and decisions?
Thank you. And yes, shout out to Sydney Grace, who's in the house. Sydney, you want to say hi? Yes. So what fuels, certainly Sydney, I have two young children, Sydney and Maximus. They are my anchor along with my husband. And so when I think about what fuels me personally, it speaks to my family. It speaks to my faith, my belief that, we have a responsibility and a right to live in and create a better world. And so that is what keeps me grounded. My family keeps me accountable, and they are my biggest cheerleaders. Professionally, when I think about the work that I lead at Clorox, and so we call DE&I work IDEA, and that stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Allyship. And when I think about our brands, so yes, Clorox, and I think everybody should know Clorox, but we have tons of other brands, right? So when you think about Burt's Bees, Brita, Glad, Kingsford, we have tremendous scale and brands across the globe. We're in 9 out of 10 households. And so when I think about that percentage or that stat, that's 90% of, consumers purchasing and are in love with our products. And so how do we use IDEA to ensure that we're creating products and brands that delight our customers and consumers? And so really thinking about that diversity of thought coming into play as we build and create, but also the people who are inside Clorox, our teammates, every day working and living, and how do we ensure that they're thriving and finding their place of belonging at Clorox. And it's about how we bring to life our IDEA strategy. When I think about, building thriving teams, is about looking at that representation and seeing how do we reflect that, what we see outside, internally. How do we create this sense of inclusion and allyship? And allyship is, as many people define it, is about how do we decenter ourselves to center other people? How do you put someone before you, knowing that they may need more support? I think about, when you're younger and on the playground and you're, navigating and playing and doing whatever it is you're doing, and somebody comes up and bullies you or says something that just makes you feel less than or othered. And think about the moment when someone stood up for you or you stood up for someone else, and how important that is and how it made you feel. And if you take that lesson, that first lesson that we learn or we have in allyship, and apply it to today, whether it's at work or at play, that is what we're looking to create for everybody, right? And it's not always there, and it's not always something that is practiced actively, but it's a muscle that we need to utilize more and more.
I 100% agree. As someone who also works in marketing communications, oftentimes targeting a target demographic that I'm not a part of, you need to more diverse perspectives really makes a better product, plain and simple. And unless you open yourself to that and bring in more perspectives and create that space, that's the only way that you're going to achieve that. I'm going to pass it over to you, Chandler, to weigh in. What fuels your power personally and professionally driving actions and decisions?
So similarly, I have 2 young children at home, and so I'll start personally. They're definitely my drive. Every morning, my husband works in construction, so every morning it's the 3 girls in the house getting ready. So you can imagine the outfits picking out in the constant chaos. But on the way to school every day, I ask the girls 2 questions, and they know it's coming because they're like, "Mom, you haven't asked the 2 questions yet." First question I ask is, what are 2 things that you're going to do today that are going to make today a good day? And what's nice about that is my oldest, Brooklyn, can share with my youngest, Piper, what she's excited about, what she's going to do if she has a presentation. She had a science project at school last week. I'm really excited today, but I'm also nervous because I'm going to share this. So they get to hear from one another. And then Piper, my youngest now that she's 3, she can now say, "Sissy, you're going to be great today." So it's like empowering youth and making sure that you're continuing to support one another. The other piece that I read about recently that I added to our morning conversations is, what is something that you love about yourself? And I asked them that because I was reading an article about women in the dream gap. So if you haven't, you should Google it.
That. Yes.
Yeah, right?
Excellent.
And the dream gap is all about how young women, as they get older, the gap grows with their dream. And similar to what Shanique had just mentioned, it's about empowering people. And so I want to try and do that for my girls at home. And then at work, I actually I work in HR. So most of our population within the HR team is women, a lot of them here today. And shout out to BuzzFeed women. And making sure that the team feels empowered, that they have a voice, they know when to listen to our population. At work specifically, we have a very women-heavy population that interacts with our content, reads our news, and all those things. So it's just really important that you're not only, like Shanique had mentioned, being able to have a voice, but you're also listening to your audience and being able to adapt and making sure that you're empowering people to have their own power.
How about you?
Fantastic. What personally motivates me, absolutely my family. Both my brother and sister have children, so I have 3 Black nephews and 1 biracial nephew. And when I look at the news and I see the state of the world, which is pretty precarious right now, I am motivated every day to try and make it better for them. Also for the people that I work with, my team, and my professional community, 2 of which are here today, so happy. They motivate me every day. I work with really amazing professionals that have a high level of passion. Diversity is a really hard space to work in right now. There's a lot of false narratives. There's a lot of politicization. There's a lot of hate that has been resurfaced in the last few years, and it can be depressing on any given day. And so tapping into my power and my resilience and showing that to my teams and to my organizations, being able to clearly articulate the business case for diversity, equity, and inclusion, what it is and what it is not. It is not affirmative action. I did not know it is also not practiced in corporate the way it is in higher education. That was a learning for me this year. We are definitely inclusive of all marginalized employees, and the work that we do is for all of our employees, because if we go to our employees that are in need and we're able to meet their needs, it's going to make us better for all employees, for anyone that might face a similar obstacle or a challenge. So definitely family, my own, I talked about my parents' legacy, and then just the state of the world keeps me going every day.
The rising tide lifts all boats.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. I'm going to bring it back over to you, Chandler, because you were talking about your team here. And I was reading from a Gallup report that employees feel connected. If they feel connected to the culture, they're 3.5 times more likely to be engaged at work, and 68% are less likely to experience burnout, and just about the same amount less likely to leave. And so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about any mentorship, sponsorship programs that you're implementing within BuzzFeed to support the career growth of women and underrepresented minorities.
Yep, no problem. So we have this in a variety of different ways. The first is we have employee resource groups. So they're groups that create community and allyship across the board. We have a women's specific ERG. And each ERG has an executive sponsor. So they have a direct line to the executive team. So it allows the executive to understand that group. We try and rotate executive sponsorship too, so everyone has an opportunity to connect with employees in different areas. We also have a bunch of development programs. Shout out to our people and culture team that's here today. And we have 2 programs. We have an emerging leader program, which is specifically aimed for diverse development opportunities. We're trying to build our pipeline with managers and executives across the board. So this was kind of like a first stepping stone. We also have a foundational leadership program for mid-level managers that are going to be moving up in the organization or high potentials. Throughout these programs, there are times where they will have like mentorship opportunities. They'll again have a direct line to leadership. We bring in experts from the area, so it's not all internal. We have some external opportunities. We also look at what employees need, and the exec team hearing that our employees from a burnout perspective needed more flexibility. So that, again, variety of ways that we're supporting that, but we do that through remote opportunities. We have a hybrid workforce. You're in the office when you need to be. We also provide a lot of benefits and a lot of policies that support employees that are going through anything, whether that be for women's needs or other groups. We want to make sure that we're continuing to support people across the board.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of that is listening, right, to your employees. What is their feedback and kind of,
and adapting.
being able to adapt.
Yeah, like nothing's set in stone. Again, being an ally, different groups have different needs. And specifically for women, it's really nice to see that our exec team is predominantly women. So it is nice to have those conversations about family planning, or if someone's going through something that they don't want to talk about, but they need, time away from work, that they have that space. We, again, want to provide flexibility and making sure we're supporting people in their needs.
Now, Elizabeth, you have incredible experience and years of experience shaping diversity and culture with, institutional brands, really incredible, important work. And similarly, what advice would you give to other organizations looking to strengthen their diversity and inclusion efforts to harness the power of women at work? And if there's anything you want to speak to regarding what you're doing specifically at Levi's, you can elaborate.
Yeah, so a lot of what you just mentioned, so the ERGs and the development programs, we definitely have those in place. And also we do extensive talent planning, and through that process, I'm involved in that process. With the talent team, with the executive team, making sure that we're looking at the pipeline of talent and making sure that there is diversity in that from a gender, race, ethnicity, background, skill set perspective. The advice that I would give organizations is that your DEI strategy is aligned to your values or your purpose or your core principles, whatever it is that the organization is using as their North Star. You need to shape your strategy around that, and you obviously need a qualified leader. We had a lot of folks step into the space in 2020 and during those times, and I think there were a lot of good intentions, but this isn't just I am Black, therefore I know diversity. This is a practice. We have education, deep experience, have studied, connect with each other on a regular basis, go to think tanks and other opportunities to connect. So it definitely is a strategic practice, and embedding it into and as much integration as you can get into your talent processes. So your talent management cycle, goal setting, performance management, annual review. How are you going to drive manager accountability? A lot of this comes down to the behaviors of leaders and people managers. Like, we're shifting to a huge focus on manager competency. A lot of people are really good at their job, but they've never managed people, and they don't know what that looks like or what it should feel like or how to create that environment of belonging and inclusion. And I think that a lot of leaders think in their head that it's more than it needs to be. It's really about connecting with your team and making them feel seen so they can feel safe, they can feel like they belong, and then they're going to do their best work for you. You're going to watch it bloom like magic, I promise you.
Yes, it's what you're doing internally and also externally too that really makes an impact and shine through. I want to shift over to you, Shanique, and talk a little bit about gender equity within your organization, and the pay gap in particular has been an issue, and if you did not know, women in the U.S. lose a combined total of $1.6 trillion every year as a result of the wage gap, and women in California alone lose approximately $87 billion. That's a lot. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about some of the strategies that you've implemented within your organization to promote gender equity.
Absolutely. And so I will start by saying I've been working for over 22 years, and it wasn't until 2022 that I worked for a woman CEO, and that is Linda Rendell, our chair and CEO of the Clorox company. That alone has been transformational for me personally and professionally. There is a level of trust that I have with her that I frankly didn't have with other CEOs. There is a steadfastness, a strategic vision, this idea of being kind and not nice that I get with Linda. So one, truly grateful to be working for a woman CEO. I think about, you know, the work that we've done across Clorox as well, and certainly, as you alluded to earlier, half of our executive committee are comprised of women, as well as our board. And when we think about our management, our managers, we have about 49% management. That is not, you know, that is not a fluke. That is by design, right? And when you think about women being half the population, it is natural that they are half of everything that we see, right? Because it's not about the talent exists. It's about the access and the opportunity. When you asked about the strategies that we take, very proud to share that we have achieved pay equity at Clorox for several years. It's one of our ESG goals as we think about how do we create thriving communities internally and externally. And so every year we conduct what we call a pay gap analysis. And what we do there is really understand everyone's role on our production and non-production side, and looking at the location, grade level, pay, title, everything, just to ensure that we have still maintained that level of pay equity. And when we don't, we make adjustments. And not only do we make these adjustments, but we also communicate that transparently with our teams around that, just to achieve that. So I've been really proud to work on that. And what I will also say, yes, it is a work that I'm leading, but it's also something that happens across the team. And so really partnering with our HR and our people and team, our comp and benefits team, our L&D team, as you know, you shared, this work is collectively taxing, and it requires all of us. And so really extremely supportive and appreciative of the work that I see happening across our people and teams, and even in our brands, right? And so I'll just kind of digress a little bit, right? So when I think about pay equity, but it also, when I think about consumers and who is purchasing and the purchasing power women have, we have to listen. We have to listen. We are the ones in Target. I know I am. Yeah, cracking myself. Yes, because I am there quite a bit.
How much are you in Target?
Whether it's a drive up or inside the store. I was just there yesterday. But again, just really being able to tap into the power that is already there is incredible. And so I am very proud to work at Clorox. I'll say one other story. Last November, I traveled to Ghana with our head of sustainability, and we went to Ghana for Burt's Bees. We have lots of sustainability programs there, responsible sourcing, and we were able to see the work of or the fruits of our label come to life in our Sheekeeper program. And when you think about Burt's Bees and the products that are ingredients that's comprised of those products, a lot of it is shea. Shea is a woman's work in terms of harvesting shea for products that we all consume and love. And our Sheekeeper program was essentially really teaching women how to beekeep and creating another source of income for them. And so we were there to see it. It was amazing, truly transformative from a personal perspective, from a professional perspective, and was certainly a proud moment to be at Clorox. So if you are interested or want to learn more about all the great work we're doing in the U.S. and abroad, please go to our website. We have lots of transformative work, and I say it's not a fluke. It is by design, and you need to be intentional and work at it. And And I think I believe the work that we've brought to life is a result of that intentionality.
That's incredible. And as you said, like, it's all interconnected, right? And it just proves that this isn't a job of one individual, and what you're looking to, ultimately accomplish is so much bigger than yourselves. And it's truly admirable, all of the work that you're doing and the lives that you're touching, not just within your organization, but externally and through, the products that you're selling to consumers, and the transparency and the values driven behind that is so important and critical, what you do. So thank you. And I'm going to end on one last question that I'll ask you to go around and answer. To fill in the blank, POWhER can be used as a tool for...
Yeah, making lives better.
There you go.
+1. POWhER can be used as a tool for change, a tool for love.
I would say a tool for voice and a tool for inclusion.
Well, thank you all so much. Again, I'm very delighted to sit on a stage with these incredible women. I'm absolutely in awe with all of the work that you've been doing and contributing in your space. So thank you again so much. Thank you to everyone. We have an incredible day ahead. Please make sure that you're following along with World Women Fund and using the hashtag POWHER. And thank you. Hope you have a wonderful day, and looking forward to all the concerts coming up.